I was looking through all of the Valentine's Day stuff at the Dollar Tree. I found these heart-shaped paper doilies, and I have some really fun ideas that I want to share with you. From the craft aisle of the Dollar Tree, I grabbed one of these 12 by 12 stretched canvases, and I'm going to be using the largest of the heart doilies. This is about 10 inches, and I'm going to use it as a stencil to create a really pretty piece of wall art. I'm also trying to use up some things that I have in my craft room, so I gathered up a bunch of ribbons in different widths in the colors of red and white. Because these doilies are paper, they're a bit flimsy, and I wanted to make sure it didn't move around on my canvas while I was using it as a stencil. So I'm just using some temporary glue dots on the back side of my doily just so that it would stay in place. You could also just use some painter's tape if you wanted to roll it into little circles, but I had the glue dots on hand, so I thought those would work. So you can see I just centered my doily within my 12 by 12 canvas, and because this is a 10-inch doily, it fit really nice. It gave me a little border around the whole thing. I'm using some red chalk paint here, and I have a flat brush. This brush is round, so as I'm pouncing it up and down, the edges are staying a bit softer. If you were to use a square sponge brush, you might have to be careful as you're pouncing it so that the edges don't look too harsh or too much like a line. And you can see here, I'm just going straight up and down on that doily because I didn't want to run the risk that any of that paint would slide underneath of the doily. And I'm also making sure that I'm going about a ½ inch outside the edge of the doily too. While my paint was still wet, I just lifted up the doily, and you can see because I stuck with that up and down motion, I got a really great print from that doily. Now, if you've been hanging out with me for a while, you know that my favorite kind of bow to make is a scrappy bow, and I thought a scrappy bow would look really cute in the center of this heart doily, but you could put anything you want in the center of yours. I just really enjoy making these bows because it's a great way to use up some of the ends of ribbon rolls that I have laying around. So I took a quick measurement, and for mine, I thought 7-inch ribbons would work really well for this one. So I'm just going through all of the ribbons that I had pulled out. I have some red, some white, some are patterns of red and white, and I'm cutting 2 of each type of ribbon down to 7 inches. After I had all of the ribbons cut down to the same length, I went through and on the wider ones, I dovetailed the ends of them, and on some of the more narrow ribbons, instead of trying to dovetail them, I just cut them to a point. You don't have to do this. You could leave the ends a little blunt, but I always like the look that the dovetail and the points give it. And obviously on some of the things, they were more like trims, not ribbons, and so I wasn't able to do anything on the ends of those, which was fine. It looked cute just how it was. So to get started on actually forming the bow, I laid one piece of ribbon down on my work surface. It's kind of hard to see because it is a sheer ribbon. And I started with the more narrow ribbons, and I just started laying them in an X pattern. So every time that I picked a ribbon up, I made sure that I picked the corresponding ribbon to it to complete the X. And as I was layering the ribbons on top of each other, I was just working my way up to the wider ribbons. And I also tried to make sure that I alternated colors and patterns so that I would have, instead of having 2 reds next to each other, I could have a white to separate them. And I like to finish my bows off on the back side with the heaviest type of ribbon. So in this case, it was this really wide white ribbon that I had that had a velvet finish to it. I think the thicker ribbons are the best ones to add to the back side because it gives a little more stability to the bow. Once I had all the ribbons laid down in my X pattern, then that initial ribbon that I had laid on my work surface, I was able to just use that to cinch everything up in the center and tie it in a knot. Once I had it tied, then I just started pulling the ends apart so that it separated all of the layers of the ribbons. And anytime you can use different types of trims and laces in these scrappy bows, I think that helps give it more texture and a little more dimension to the bow itself. While I was working on my bow, my paint had a chance to dry, so I was able to take my bow then and just hot glue it to the center of my canvas. I did have to press from the backside just to make sure that it adhered down. And then to finish off my bow, I grabbed a pack of this table scatter from the Dollar Tree. These are just layered felt hearts with little sayings on them. I picked out one that was just red and white, so it fit the color scheme, and I hot glued that to the center. One of my favorite things to look at for every season at the Dollar Tree are the little packs of the wooden ornaments that they come out with. They always make great elements for a garland for across my fireplace. Over in the craft aisle, I went and looked through some of the yarn that they had, and I picked out a dark red color to use as a second element for my garland. I'm also going to be using a pack of the smaller doilies. These ones are about 6 inches across, and this will be a great background for those wooden ornaments. The Dollar Tree also carries pom-pom makers in 3 different sizes. I'm going to use the largest one along with that red yarn to make some pom-poms for on my garland. To get started, I like the natural wood color of these ornaments, but because I'm going to be putting them up against a white doily, I wanted them to stand out just a little bit more. So I'm using some antique wax by Waverly, and I'm just using a wet wipe to apply that to 4 of my heart ornaments to give them a darker stain. If you've never used the pom-pom makers before, they're pretty easy. You just start with one side open and you wrap the yarn around as many times as you want. I like to make mine pretty full, so I make sure that I wrap it a good many times until I really can't fit much more yarn on there. The more yarn you wrap, the fuller your pom-pom will be. Once you have one side completely filled with yarn, you're just going to close that side up, and then you'll move to the other side and do the same thing. You'll just keep wrapping and wrapping until you have the second arm completely full of yarn. After the second side is filled up with yarn, you're going to close that arm and cut off your yarn. And then there's a channel that runs through the center of the 2 arms. And you're just going to take some really sharp scissors and just snip your way through all of the yarn that ran along that channel. Then you'll take another piece of the same yarn and slide it through the center where that channel is, and you'll just tie it. I usually tie mine 2 or 3 times just to make sure that it's nice and secure. And then you just pull both sides of the pom-pom maker apart, and you'll be able to see anywhere that you have some longer pieces. I like to shake mine out a good bit just to get all of those long ones out so that I know where I need to snip and clean up. Now that the stain had a chance to dry on my wooden heart pieces, I wanted to cover up that hole that's at the top of them because I won't be needing that to hang this on the garland. So in order to camouflage that, I'm just using some sticky back pearls, and I placed one over top of where the hole is, and then I placed a few more on the other hearts so that it looks like it's part of the design. And since I'm doing 4 of these wooden elements on my garland, I did end up creating 6 of the pom-poms because I'm going to alternate pom-poms and the other elements. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm just using the white heart doilies, so that's why I wanted to stain my wooden heart ornament so that you could see it a little bit better. I used some hot glue on the back side of my wood ornament, and I just glued it right down on top of my doily. Now keep in mind, the Dollar Tree does carry these doilies in different colors. I was able to find white, red, and pink in my store, so any of those colors would work, and you could customize this any way you'd like because you could paint or stain the wooden ornaments with whatever colors you like. Now I can start assembling my garland. I cut a piece of thinner jute rope down to the size that would fit across the front of my electric fireplace, and I found the center, and that's where I'm going to start. So since I'm putting on more pom-poms than I am the doilies, I started with the pom-pom in the center, and because I left that piece of yarn that I tied the pom-pom together with a little bit longer, I was able to just use that to tie that right onto my jute rope. Now for the doilies, on the back side of the doily, I ran a bead of hot glue across the part of the doily that was solid. So where the cutouts are around the edges, I avoided that part with the hot glue, but the center was just a solid piece of paper. And because that wood was there, it did make it a little bit more stable so that that I could run my hot glue there, and then I could just lay my rope into it. And then working out from each side of center, then I just kept alternating the pom-poms and the doilies until I had my whole garland full of both of these things. I thought the Valentine's Day stickers at the Dollar Tree were really cute, so I had some fun ideas using the doilies and these stickers to create your own Valentine's Day cards. The Crafter Square section carries these packages of A2 size cards with coordinating envelopes. I was able to find them in my store in white, black, and craft colored. For these cards, I'm going to use the craft colored ones. And I'm also going to use the smaller of the heart doilies. These are the 6-inch doilies. And I had grabbed a couple packs of stickers too. This is also a great project to do if you have some kiddos in your life, because I think they would really have fun using these stickers to make their own Valentines for their friends. So I'm starting with this paper doily, and I'm just using a regular school glue stick. This is the Elmer's brand, and it's purple when you put it on, but after the glue dries, it does dry clear, so don't worry about the purple. And just be careful because these doilies are quite thin, so they have a tendency to rip, but you can see that I added the glue stick on the top 3/4 of the doily, and I added it to my card front, so just the top of the heart is going to be on my card front. I just smoothed it out and made sure that all of the edges were glued down with the glue stick. It's really fun to use the glue stick here because it's a lot easier to use on these paper doilies rather than like a hot glue, and because the paper is so thin, if you would use a wet glue, it would tend to wrinkle. So the glue stick, I think, is the best option. After I had the doily in place, then I just used my scissors and I cut off the excess. And you can see here, because of the pretty pattern on the doily, it makes for a really pretty card front. So even if you didn't want to use these cards for Valentine's Day, you could make a set of note cards to give as a gift to somebody. If you wanted to put their initial on the front, or if you wanted to get some of the other stickers that they have at the Dollar Tree, you could customize these note cards to fit any holiday. But because I thought these Valentine's Day stickers were so cute, I thought it would be a fun way to make my own Valentine's Day cards. So I'm picking out some of the bigger stickers that are in this pack, and I really liked this pack too because some of the stickers had 3D elements on them. They'd have a little piece of foam tape so that one of the portions of the sticker would stick up a little bit more and give some dimension to the card. Now I'm just creating 4 cards here, but there are 10 cards and envelopes in each of the packs, so you could make quite a few cards out of one of the packs that you get from the Dollar Tree. After I had the 4 main stickers on my cards, then I went through with this pack of sticky back hearts that I got. These are in a nice red color and they have a nice shine and a little bit of glitter to them. They do have 3 different sizes in each of the packs, so that made for some easy decorating. I just took a few of the gems and I placed them on each of the cards in different spots. I plan on handing these cards out in person, not sending them through the mail. So I thought it would be fun to decorate the envelopes a little bit too, since I had so many of these stickers left over. I did have a few plain red heart stickers in my stash, so I put one of those on the envelope, and then I put 2 of the little heart gems on either side of it. And I used a fine tip marker just to draw some lines down from it and to make it look like it was tied in a bow, like these little red hearts were just a cluster of balloons on the front of the envelope. And then I also put one of the gems on the flap of the envelope as well. I think this is just a really cute touch. So much for coming to hang out with me again today. If you need even more Valentine's Day inspiration, check out one of the videos I left on the screen. All right, everyone, I hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you in the next one.